Welcome back to the channel, and today we are going to discuss in detail about something what is called the guardian of the genome, the P53. And it is encoded by a very important tumor suppressor gene which plays a vital role in the cancer development. It is called TP53. And why does it have such a vital role? Because it regulates the cell cycle progression, the DNA repair, the cellular senescence, and also in apoptosis. And we'll get into know about much detail of all these topics and its regulation soon in this video. And a very important point to note here is it's the most frequently mutated gene in human cancers, and you shouldn't confuse it with the RAS protein, which is the most commonly mutated protein in cancers. And something regarding its location, it is present in the chromosome number 17 on the short arm, in the 13th band and the subband 1. And so now let's look into detail some of the upstream activities or some of the extreme conditions which lead to the activation of the P53 and how P53 counteracts for this by initiating some of the downstream effects. And by this, P53 acts as a central protein which controls all these processes and thwarts neoplastic transformation. Before discussing deep into each of the topic, let's speak a little bit into the molecular aspect of P53. The P53 protein is actually a transcriptional factor which actually contains 4 distinct domains. One is the amino acid terminal transactivator domain, the other one is the DNA binding domain which contains a zinc ion, and a oligomerization domain and a carboxyl terminal regulatory domain. And this transcriptional factor P53 can actually bind to approximately more than 300 different gene promoter regions. So this suggests that P53 is actually a very powerful regulator role. So what is this MDM2 which had a binding site in its gene? MDM2 actually plays a very vital role in the regulation of the P53 protein. Normally, the level of P53 protein is very low in the cells, and the activity of P53 is regulated by this MDM2 protein at the level of protein degradation. Yeah, you heard it right. MDM2 protein is actually a ubiquitin ligase which actually targets the P53 protein for its degradation. The MDM2 protein actually modifies the carboxyl terminal of the P53 protein, or you can say tag the P53 protein, and thus it tags it for degradation into the proteasomes which is in the cytoplasm. Also, it regulates the levels of the P53 in several other ways too. The MDM2 also binds to and inactivates the transactivation domain of the P53 which is present near the amino acid terminal. And such binding leads to the transport of the protein into the cytoplasm which is away from the nucleus, where it makes its regulatory impact on the cells as a transcriptional factor. Hence you could clearly see that it forms an auto-regulatory loop of itself, that the P53 regulates itself. P53 being a transcriptional factor first initially leads to the transcription of MDM2 and thus translation into the MDM2 protein, and this MDM2 protein will tag P53 and lead to its degradation. Thus the level of P53 in the cells will become low, which also lead to the low concentration of MDM2 protein. So there will be decreased inhibition and there will be an increase in P53 and increased activation of P53, which again leads to increased levels of MDM2 protein. So this hence forms a autoregulatory loop by which it regulates the concentration of P53 itself. So now I guess that's enough, and let's jump back into the upstream pathways that lead to the activation of P53. As we just saw now, the very vital role of P53 and MDM2 interactions in the regulation of P53. So in order to activate P53, all the upstream factors should in fact disrupt this interaction between the P53 and MDM2, thus hence lead to the activation of the P53 and disrupt it from its inhibition by MDM2. And for this they utilize 3 main independent molecular pathways for the activation of P53 by disruption of the P53 and MDM2 interactions. Let's start with the first one, which is a DNA damage. The DNA damage, which is actually caused by some ionizing radiations, is actually signaled by 2 protein kinases. One is ATM and another one is the CHK2. The first kinase, which is the ATM, is stimulated by especially double-stranded breaks in the DNA. So this ATM, which is called ataxia telangiectasia mutated gene, it was first discovered in those particular people whose gene pool contains, who had the manifestation of ataxia and telangiectasia, and they discovered that they had the gene of ATM mutated. It's called ATM, ataxia-telangiectasia mutated gene. And this ATM gene then phosphorylates and activates a second kinase which is known as CHK2. Both this ATM and CHK2 kinases phosphorylate the amino acid terminal site of the p53, and this phosphorylation actually interferes with the binding of MDM2. You could recall that the binding of MDM2 is actually near the amino acid terminals where it binds, also called the transactivational domain. Here it actually interferes, hence this phosphorylation makes it impossible for the MDM2 and p53 to bind, and hence stops it from its inhibition activity. Moving on to the second molecular pathway, which actually again includes another two different kind of kinases, which is the ATR and kisin kinase 2. And finally, activated oncogenes like RAS actually induce the activity of the protein called P14ARF, which is actually another modulator of p53 and MDM2 complex. And how does this P14ARF actually works is that P14ARF is actually one of the two transcriptional factors of our INK4A, which is our P16 family of CDK inhibitors, right? So this P15ARF does not actually go into the site of interaction between the P53 and MDM2 interface, but actually controls it by sequestering MDM2 to the nucleus so that it can act on the P53 which is present in the nucleus and doesn't help it to the translocation or into the cytoplasm. You could have a correlation of concepts here, like why should a cyclin dependent kinase inhibitor should be activated in a way to activate p53. We know that cyclin dependent kinase inhibitors actually stop the transition from one part of a cell cycle to the another part of the cell cycle, that is most importantly, let's say from G1 to S. Such a stoppage of transition from one part of a cell cycle to another stage of a cell cycle should indicate that there is some defect in the DNA or some part of the cell which makes it incapable to the transition. So this should indirectly lead to the activation of the guardian of the genome, which would maintain the genome and hence repair the genome. So the cyclin dependent kinase inhibitor should have a correlation with the p53 in order to maintain or activate its guardian, hence is a correlation.